Welcome back to Reddit Talks. Our team carefully creates and hand edits every story to help improve your mindset through storytelling. All of our content is 100% original and human-led. Enjoy the video.
At my grandfather's funeral, I found an old passbook. Mom scoffed, tossed it away. Ancient, she said. I retrieved it and went to the bank. The manager blanched. Call the police, he whispered. Don't let her leave. When the bank manager locked the front doors and told his assistant to call the police, I thought I was being arrested. I was holding my grandfather's water-stained passbook in both hands like it might evaporate. The young teller who'd greeted me 90 seconds earlier was now standing against the back wall, phone pressed to her ear, staring at me like I'd walked in with a bomb. Miss Gross, the manager said carefully, his voice barely above a whisper. I need you to stay calm. Can you do that for me? I nodded. My throat had closed. Good. Now, where did you get this? My grandfather died 3 weeks ago. I managed. I found it in his things. The manager, his nameplate read, Gerald Calloway, branch manager, went absolutely colorless, not pale, gray, like someone had drained him. Jesus Christ, he breathed. It's actually you. 3 weeks earlier, my grandfather died on a Tuesday morning in October. The hospice nurse called at 6:47 a.m. I was already awake, staring at my phone, somehow knowing. He went peacefully, she said. He asked for you at the end. I'd been there the night before, held his hand while he drifted in and out. At one point, his eyes had focused on me with sudden, frightening clarity. The chess book, he'd whispered. Strategic endgame. Only you, Danica. I'd thought it was morphine talking. The funeral was scheduled for Friday. Mom handled everything with the efficiency of someone canceling a gym membership. She'd selected the cheapest casket, limited the service to 30 minutes, and made it clear that the reception would be brief. No need to be maudlin, she'd said when I suggested a photo display. Dad wouldn't want a fuss. Dad, not Grandpa. She'd never called him anything warm. My brother Wyatt had barely looked up from his tablet during the planning session. Developer buddy of mine wants the land, he said. We should list the farmhouse next week. Strike while the market's hot. They'd been discussing this for months. I'd overheard fragments, whispered phone calls, hastily closed browser tabs when I walked into rooms. My grandfather had still been alive, still coherent enough to know they were circling. The service was freezing. November wind cut through the cemetery like it was angry. 11 people attended. Half were neighbors who'd known Grandpa for 40 years. Mom spent the entire graveside service checking her watch. Afterward at the house, she made a show of grief that wouldn't have fooled a child. He was so loved, she said to Mrs. Chen from next door, dabbing at completely dry eyes. Wyatt cornered me near the dining room. Don't get attached to any of his stuff, he said quietly. Mom's cleaning out the farmhouse this weekend. Estate sale people are coming Monday. Already? It's been 3 days, Danny. We can't leave a house sitting empty. That's how you get squatters. The farmhouse was 40 minutes away in the country. The idea of strangers pawing through Grandpa's things made me physically ill. That night, I drove out there alone. The farmhouse smelled like old books and linseed oil. Grandpa had been a carpenter before he retired, then an accountant after that. Every surface in the house held evidence of both lives. Hand-carved furniture, meticulously organized tax files going back to 1987. I found the chess set on his desk. We'd played every Sunday for 15 years. He'd taught me when I was 7, and I'd never beaten him. Not once. The books were on the shelf beside it. Strategic Endgame was exactly where it always was. Spine cracked from use. When I pulled it down, I knew immediately something was wrong. It was too light. Inside, someone had carefully hollowed out the pages. The passbook was wrapped in a handwritten note. Danica, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry to leave you with this burden, but you're the only one I trust. Account 777412289. First Regional Savings, Millbrook Branch. They don't know about this one. Your mother and brother have been stealing from me for 4 years. I have proof, but I'm too old and too sick to fight them alone. Trust no one in the family, only you. I love you. You were always the best of us. Grandpa. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. 4 years. I thought about every Sunday dinner, every time Mom had insisted on helping Grandpa with his finances. Every time Wyatt had driven him to doctor's appointments I was never invited to. I thought about the way they'd exchanged looks at the funeral planning session. Quick, knowing, accomplices. I took the passbook home and stared at it for 2 hours. The account number was handwritten in Grandpa's precise script. The passbook itself was old, the kind banks stopped using in the early 2000s. The last recorded transaction was from 2015, a deposit of $50,000. At 4 a.m., I made a decision. I went back to the farmhouse. Mom had started clearing it out. Boxes everywhere. Furniture tagged for the estate sale. I found the kitchen trash can and dug through coffee grounds and banana peels until I found what I was looking for. A torn photograph. Grandpa and my grandmother on their wedding day, 1962. Mom had thrown it away. I took it home and cried in my car for 20 minutes. The next morning, Mom called. Her voice was honey sweet, which meant she wanted something. Hi, sweetheart. How are you holding up? I'm okay. Listen, I know this is hard, but we need to move forward with the estate. Your grandfather would want us to be practical. I know. You didn't take anything from the farmhouse, did you? I noticed some things were moved around. My heart stopped. Just Just a chess book for memories. Pause. Too long. Of course. That's fine. Just don't go digging through everything, okay? A lot of it is just junk. Ancient paperwork. You know how he was. I know. Good girl. We'll talk soon. She hung up. I stared at my phone. In 37 years, my mother had never called me sweetheart or good girl unless she was manipulating me. That evening, Wyatt called. He hadn't voluntarily called me in 8 months. Hey, Danny. Listen, I know the estate stuff is complicated. Mom's handling the legal side, but I wanted you to know. Once we sell the farmhouse, I'm going to slide you something extra. Off the books. Like a real amount. 5, maybe 10 grand. You don't have to do that. I want to. You were good to Grandpa. Just let Mom handle the paperwork, okay? That legal stuff isn't your wheelhouse. It was a bribe. They were scared. First Regional Savings was in Millbrook, a town I'd never heard of 40 minutes north. The building was small, stuck in 1987 with wood paneling and motivational posters about compound interest. The teller was maybe 23, blonde, aggressively cheerful. Good morning. How can I help you today? I slid the passbook across the counter. I need to check on this account. She smiled and typed in the number. The smile died. She typed again, slower. Then she looked up at me with something like fear. Can you wait here for just 1 second? She disappeared into the back. I heard urgent whispering. Someone said, "Are you sure? Check again." 90 seconds later, the manager emerged. Gerald Calloway was in his mid-50s, gray suit, tired eyes. He looked at me, then at the passbook, then back at me. Miss Gross. Danica Gross. He went white. I need you to come with me. Tina, lock the front doors. Call Detective Jefferson. Tell her it's about the Gross case. What's happening? I asked. Just come with me, please. We walked to his office. He closed the door and gestured for me to sit. His hands were shaking. Miss Gross, I need to ask you something very important. Where did you get that passbook? My grandfather died 3 weeks ago. I found it in his things. Eugene Gross was your grandfather? Yes. He sat down heavily. We've been waiting for you for 6 years. What? He turned his computer screen toward me. The account details were there. Account 7741289. Holder, Eugene M. Gross, deceased. Balance, $2,147,832. The room tilted. I couldn't finish the sentence. Your grandfather deposited small amounts over 43 years, Calloway said quietly. He was extremely disciplined. He never withdrew anything. In 2015, someone tried to empty the account using forged power of attorney documents. We denied the transfer and locked the account down. Your grandfather came in personally and confirmed the fraud attempt. He told us to expect you. He said you were the only one he trusted. I couldn't breathe. Who tried to steal it? Calloway slid a file across the desk. Inside were photocopies of the forged documents. My mother's signature, Wyatt's notary stamp. We reported it to the police, Calloway said. But your grandfather refused to press charges. He said he was handling it privately. He updated his will to remove them as beneficiaries and named you as the sole heir to this account. But he made us promise not to contact you until you came to us. He said you'd know when the time was right. The door opened. A woman in a charcoal blazer walked in. I'm Detective Sarah Jefferson, Financial Crimes Unit. Mr. Calloway called me about the Gross case. Are you Danica Gross? I nodded. She sat down across from me. Your grandfather filed a formal complaint with my office in 2019. He documented years of financial exploitation by your mother and brother, forged signatures, unauthorized transfers. He estimated they'd stolen approximately $340,000 from his various accounts over 4 years. Why didn't he tell me? He said he didn't want to put you in danger. He was afraid if they knew he'd told you, they'd escalate. He wanted to wait until after his death when they'd think they'd gotten away with it. She pulled out a folder. Inside were bank statements, canceled checks, emails. Your grandfather was an accountant, Jefferson said. He documented everything. Every suspicious transaction, every forged signature. He kept a diary of every time your mother pressured him to sign documents he didn't understand. He recorded phone calls where your brother threatened to put him in a nursing home if he didn't cooperate. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this now? Because, Jefferson said, we've been building a case for 2 years, but we need your cooperation. Your mother and brother believe they won the game. They're preparing to sell your grandfather's property and pocket the proceeds. If we move now, we can catch them in the act. What do you need me to do? Can you pretend everything is normal? Can you sit at dinner with them and smile while we gather the final pieces of evidence? For 2 weeks, I played my role. I went to Sunday dinner at Mom's house. She served pot roast and performed maternal warmth with the precision of a stage actress. We have a cash offer on the farmhouse, she announced, beaming. Finally done with that dusty old place. Your grandfather would be so relieved. That's wonderful, I said. Wyatt was scrolling through his phone. Developers paying cash. Closing in 3 weeks. Quick and clean. What about Grandpa's things? Estate sale got most of it, Mom said dismissively. The rest went to Goodwill, except this. She slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a check for $5,000. Your share of the estate, she said with practiced sympathy. I know it's not much, but your grandfather's medical bills ate up most of his savings. We're lucky there's anything left. $5,000. From the man with $2.1 million in a hidden account. From the estate they'd been systematically looting for 4 years. This is very generous, I said. My voice sounded normal, grateful even. Under the table, my nails drew blood from my palms. We take care of family, Mom said, squeezing my hand. I wanted to vomit. Detective Jefferson called me every 3 days. They're getting nervous, she said during our second check-in. Your mother called the Millbrook Bank last week asking if anyone had accessed your grandfather's old old accounts. They stonewalled her, but she knows something's off. What if they figure it out? Then we move early. But right now, we're documenting everything. Your brother's been transferring money to offshore accounts. Your mother's been hiding assets under her sister's name. They're acting like people who expect to be investigated. Good. How are you holding up? I'm fine. I wasn't fine. I was sleeping 3 hours a night. Every time my phone rang, I flinched. I'd started having dreams where Grandpa was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear him. On Thursday morning, Jefferson called at 6:45 a.m. It's happening today. Are you somewhere safe? I'm at home. Stay there. Don't contact your family. Don't answer if they call. This will be over by noon. And the arrest happened at 7:08 a.m. I know because Mom called me at 7:47 screaming. I let it go to voicemail. You bitch. You goddamn bitch. What did you do? What did you tell them? Danica, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Wyatt called 6 times. I blocked both of them. At 9:30, Jefferson called. It's done. Your mother and brother are in custody. We executed search warrants on both residences. We've recovered documentation of systematic fraud dating back to 2014. Forged powers of attorney, unauthorized account access, elder financial abuse, money laundering through shell corporations. What happens now? They'll be arraigned this afternoon. Bail hearing tomorrow. The DA is recommending no bail for your mother. Flight risk. Your brother might make bail, but his assets are frozen. How long will this take? Trial's probably 6 months out. But Danica, we have them. Your grandfather's documentation is ironclad. They can't explain away 47 forged signatures. Mom's lawyer called me 2 days later. Ms. Gross, my client would like to speak with you. No, she's your mother. She deserves nothing. Tell her I said that. I hung up. Wyatt's lawyer tried a softer approach. Your brother is devastated. He claims he was manipulated by your mother. He's willing to testify against her in exchange for a reduced sentence. He'd like the opportunity to explain himself to you. I thought about Grandpa's note. Trust no one in the family. Tell my brother, I said carefully, that I'm not interested in explanations from people who steal from dying men. The trial started in March. The prosecution's case was devastating. They had everything. Bank records, forged documents, recorded phone calls where Mom threatened to handle Grandpa if he didn't cooperate. Emails between her and Wyatt discussing how to maximize the estate. They'd stolen $378,000 over 4 years. They'd forged his signature on property deeds, transferred his pension to accounts they controlled, and sold his vintage car collection without his knowledge. The defense tried to paint Grandpa as senile, confused, paranoid. Then the prosecution played their trump card. A video deposition, recorded in 2020 at the Millbrook police station. Grandpa appeared on the screen. Thin, but clear-eyed. Sharp. My name is Eugene Mitchell Gross. I am 79 years old. I am of sound mind, as certified by Dr. Patricia Holloway on March 3, 2020. I am making this statement because my daughter-in-law, Miriam Gross, and my grandson, Wyatt Gross, are systematically stealing from me. The courtroom went silent. He spoke for 17 minutes, detailed every theft, every forgery, every threat. Then he looked directly into the camera. I am trusting my granddaughter, Danica Marie Gross, to find the truth when I'm gone, because she is the only one who ever listened to me. She is the only one who ever cared whether I was okay. Everything I have left belongs to her. She earned it by being decent. The video ended. I looked across the courtroom. Mom was staring at me with pure, concentrated hatred. Wyatt was crying. I felt nothing. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was 3 weeks later. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen enough. Mrs. Gross, she said, looking at my mother over her reading glasses. You exploited a vulnerable elderly man for personal gain. You forged documents. You lied to financial institutions. You threatened your own father-in-law with institutionalization when he resisted your theft. You showed no remorse. I'm sentencing you to 7 years in state prison for fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. You'll also repay the full amount stolen plus penalties. Mom's face stayed blank, empty. Mr. Gross, the judge continued, turning to Wyatt. You enabled this abuse. You used your professional credentials to legitimize fraud. You laundered stolen money through shell corporations. 3 years in state prison for conspiracy to commit fraud and money laundering. Wyatt started to speak. The judge cut him off. I don't want to hear it. They were led out in handcuffs. Afterward, Wyatt's lawyer approached me in the hallway. Your brother asked me to tell you he's sorry. He says he was manipulated. He wants a chance to explain. I looked at the lawyer for a long moment. Tell my brother that Grandpa taught me chess when I was 7. He taught me that you don't negotiate with pawns after the game is over. Tell him that's what he is. A pawn, and the game is finished. The farmhouse sold 4 months later. I kept it out of sentiment, even though it was impractical. I donated most of Grandpa's furniture to charity, but I kept the chess set. I played through the games we'd had together, using the notation he'd taught me to record. I'd still never beaten him. The $2.1 million sat in the account for 6 weeks while I figured out what to do with it. Eventually, I moved it to a trust, set up a scholarship fund in Grandpa's name for accounting students, kept enough to pay off my student loans and buy a modest house. I didn't want their money. I wanted justice. I got both. A year later, I received a letter. It was from Mom, from prison. Danica, you ruined our lives. Your brother lost his career. I lost everything, all because you were selfish enough to believe in old man's paranoid fantasies. I hope you're happy. I read it once. Then I wrote back. Mom, Grandpa wasn't paranoid. He was right. He knew exactly who you were. So did I. I never heard from her again. Last month, I went to the cemetery, placed fresh flowers on Grandpa's grave. I found it, I said quietly. The passbook. Just like you said. The wind moved through the trees. You were right about them. About everything. I stayed for 20 minutes. Then I drove home. That night, I set up the chessboard, played through our last game together from memory. Move 37. I saw it. The combination I'd missed. The move that would have finally beaten him. I smiled. Checkmate, Grandpa, I whispered. Better late than never. In the lamplight, the chess pieces cast long shadows. But for the first time in a year, the room didn't feel empty.